Hello there, welcome back to another chess video on the channel. Today we will continue the Main vs. Machine series, looking at the fourth game between Deep Blue, the feared engine, and Kasparov, the #1 chess player and world champion at the time. We looked at the first 3 games in this series already. The links to those videos will be in the description. To recap, Kasparov won the first game using a brilliant attack and combination of the King's Indian attack. Deep Blue struck back in the second game in the classical Ruy Lopez, and the third game was an exciting draw in the reverse Sicilian Nardov. It will be fascinating to see what happens today, and I hope you enjoy the video. The fourth game was played in 1997. Like all the others, when supercomputers were just starting to become stronger than most grandmasters. Of course, we know that Kasparov is not any grandmaster. In fact, he had beaten Deep Blue the previous year in 1996. Let's check the game out. So Deep Blue opened with e4, like he did in the previous game. He had the white pieces. And in that game, Kasparov had opened with e5, but that led to suffering in the Ruy Lopez. In this game, he responded with c6, the Caro-Kann defense. Deep Blue, of course, played d4 on the second move, controlling the entire center. Now, instead of continuing with d5, which is what most people play when they play the Caro-Kann, Kasparov played d6, which, according to what he said after the game, was his main idea. It was an anti-computer strategy, an attempt to take it out of its database. With this move, he might have succeeded. The computer now took more time to calculate the moves because it'd be less familiar with the positions that arise. This sort of move, of course, would not work now against Stockfish or Leela or AlphaZero because computers are much stronger and would easily know how to punish a subpar opening as this. For now, in fact, right now, Stockfish rates this as like +1, which means that White is actually pretty much winning, and but at that time it wasn't as clear if it would be a win. So after knight f3, knight f6, knight c3, and bishop g4, the players transposed into something sort of known as the Pribyl defense. Deep Blue doubled up his pieces traditionally, while Kasparov continued his anti-computer strategy. Unmovable. And the game continued, with h3, bishop h5, bishop d3, e6, queen e2, d5, bishop g5, bishop e7, e5, knight f d7, bishop takes e7, queen takes a7, and now on move 11, Deep Blue played g4, which is a rather strong advance, gaining space on the king side. Kasparov moved his bishop back to g6, and after a trade of pieces, Deep Blue played h4. Kasparov, of course, is sort of strained for space, so he plays knight a6, trying to double up his pieces that way, and both sides castle. And now Deep Blue moves his rook over to the king side, trying to getting both of these rooks on these files, and will prepare for a king side advanced. And now, but the middle game really begins right now, since both kings have been brought to safety and all the pieces from both sides have been developed. And now knight c7. And now, the move that Kasparov really wants in this position is c5. But the problem with c5 right now is that he doesn't have to take, and instead he can play knight b5, which puts black in sort of a bind because this square he can't really stop the knight from coming to d6, and that would be an outpost, a very strong outpost. So that's why knight c7 is played, to prevent the knight b5. So king b1, moving the king over, f6, and now this is a risky move as it compromises Kasparov's pawn structure, but it also gives him a chance to counterattack. So after takes, rook g3, the players shuffle their pieces around for a bit. Now e5, and now from a position where his pieces were cramped, blocked behind their own pawns, his long-term pawn sacrifice liberates Kasparov's entire army. Of course, Deep Blue takes, and now queen f4. Now you have a much better position because there's a lot of pressure on this pawn, and it might be taken in the future as well, and your knights have much more room to move as well. a3, and now this move was sort of weird because no knight is getting here anytime in the future, and no one could really work it out. but the computer must have been thinking of something. 96. Black's position has been transformed right now. Every single one of his pieces is working, and this knight is one of these knights is going to come to c5. Knight c3, knight d5, b4, knight d7, and now while the knight has moved back, some of the structure on the queen side is weaker now, so it wasn't too bad for Kasparov, and now he can play something like knight b6 and knight c4 without having to worry about b3. Queen d3, queen f7, b5, and now knight dc5, coming back into the center. And now queen e3, and once again the player just shuffle around the pieces with some captures on the board. And now you don't want to really take, because that would just be a forced draw, and you want the win. But after rook d1, king c7, king a1, and then Kasparov did play queen takes c3, and he said, here I sort of just lost my nerve. I exchanged queens because my king was exposed and I was running short of time. If I play something like 30 rook f7, it would have been then Deep Blue would have had difficulty playing another move. So then f takes c3 is played. Now you do have double pawns, but the position is just really equal because of Black's weaknesses as well, such as g6 and g7 and a7. So rook f7, rook h3, rook e8, knight d4, rook f2. Of course you don't want to take, because that would give Black this strong pawn structure. Rook b1, rook g2, and now you're just attacking these pawns, and now it just transitions into an game with knight c2, rook takes d4, knight takes d6, knight takes d6, knight d4, and now exchanging knights is really the only hope for a draw for Deep Blue, even if it means ditching the pawn back. And now after takes, the pieces shuffled around for a bit, and then the game sort of goes into a draw position, because in this position you do have this just a move rook b4, which gives that leeway to your king, stopping if rook a2, but then if rook c1 check, you can just bring your rook back, and now the game just continues like this. The king takes b1, and now even though white is a pawn up, because of these connected passed pawns, it's Black who gets the winning chances. So rook e2, attacking the pawn, defending the pawn, attacking the hedge pawn, and now white defends the hedge pawn. King c4, rook c7, attacking, and you want to keep pressure on these two pawns so they don't become queens. e6, rook takes h4, e7, rook e4, stopping the pawn from becoming a queen. a4, king b3, and now king c1, and now as in this position the players agreed to a draw, because these pawns, there's too much pressure on these pawns for them to become queens, and the rook keeps an eye on this pawn, and the king can just catch up to this pawn, and if the rook tries to protect it, then these pawns make it down the board. So it's sort of like a stalemate for both sides. Both of them can only hope to shuffle their kings back and forth, and thus both Deep Blue and Kasparov agreed to a draw. So I thought this was a very exciting game. Both players showed good understanding on how to handle close positions, and they constantly maneuvered their pieces in and out, and it led to a very exciting position. Please let me know what you think in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.